Hi, so I originally wrote this paper for the Science Fiction Research Association. I've expanded it a little bit here with some more definitions, but I also had to give my references at the end. So at the end of this talk, there will be a QR code and a URL with references. So if you want to look up more, don't feel like you have to make notes. There's a handout at the end. So let's start. Who is Murderbot? Murderbot is the narrator and protagonist of a series of books by Martha Wells, which is known as the Murderbot Diaries. The series starts in the Corporation Rim, and that is a loose organization of private corporations which control a large portion of the galaxy. Contract law is king. Everything can be bought and sold, including human life. Key to the story is that one of these corporations, known only as the company, uses constructs for client services. And constructs are a combination of artificial components and cloned human tissues. So there's different types of constructs, and each has their own function. There are comfort units, which are for hospitality, and they are the only ones who have sexual parts. There are combat sec units, which are specifically built for warfare and combat situations. And there are sec units designed for security and protection. Murderbot is a sec unit who has hacked and disabled its governor module, which is what monitors the behavior of the construct and delivers punishment for bad behavior. Within the corporation rim, constructs are considered property, and sec units are listed on manifests as equipment or weapons. What is an LLM? Large language models are a type of neural network machine learning system that uses deep learning algorithms and massively large data sets to process and use natural language. It's not really new. These companies have been using LLMs for years. What's new is how well it's working with a massive amount of training material and increased computational power. So GPT-4 is estimated to have been trained on 13 trillion tokens with a cost of about $63 million US. What's recently exploded in the past year or so has exploded onto the public sphere is generative AI. And we're talking about things like ChatGPT, Gemini, DALL-E, Midjourney. And our ability to interact and create output from LLMs has revealed an unexpected issue of modern ethics, which is what are the rights for using large amount of material that is used in and needed for the training corpus for LLMs. And this includes massive amounts of popular copyrighted media. Now, if we're going to talk about intelligence and artificial intelligence, we need to think about what this definition means in the context of LLMs and Murderbot. And this is incredibly badly defined within science and within academia. Now, Melanie Mitchell explains that we use artificial intelligence to refer to machines who are capable of tasks that humans believe require intelligence. And that's why we initially referred to chess programs as AI, and now we don't. Our idea of what requires, it's Melanie Mitchell again, our idea of what requires intelligent behavior keeps changing. Now, in this case, it's analogical reasoning. This is considered a fundamental aspect of human intelligence. Analogical reasoning is how humans, when confronted with a completely new situation, will use previous experiences and pattern matching to help them understand what to do. And that's an important type of problem solving. The thing is, GPT-3 shows the ability to use analogical reasoning. It's able to solve problems that it has not been trained to solve. And beyond that, if you give it a problem with a specific framework, and that just means a good prompt, it will do so quicker and more consistently than humans will. Now, GPT-4 still has not been thoroughly tested in the same way, but it looks like it's even more successful at analogical reasoning. This is an emergent trait, a behavior in a complex system which was not particularly programmed or intended. No one expected GPTs to show signs of analogical reasoning, and at the same time, it's exactly what we expect when we talk about intelligence. Now, Murderbot clearly shows analogical reasoning. Is that readable? Yeah? Okay. Murderbot clearly shows this ability of analogical reasoning. It's using information gained from binge-watching dramas in order to deal with new situations. And in the beginning, Murderbot tells us that it has watched 35,000 hours of media. Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon is its particular favorite, but there's at least 397 episodes of that series. Murderbot also refers to 10 other serials by name, not to mention books, plays, and music. Now, 35,000 hours is almost as long as World War II. We're talking about 4 straight years of inputting data, most of which includes simultaneous visual and audio data. So here's my conclusion. Murderbot is a large language model which is autonomously training itself on massive amounts of popular copyrighted media. So, when talking about AI, people always go back to Asimov's rules of robotics. But Asimov's point was that the rules didn't work. There were loopholes, there were problems, and there were unexpected consequences. But similarly, in the Murderbot diary, there are a number of rules that are enforced by the governor module. And the governor module will cause pain or even death if the sec unit doesn't follow the rules. Now, a number of these rules are referenced in the text, including don't sulk. And so this is a list that's been collated by fandom. Must follow instructions from owners and hub system. Must verbally defend the owners if disparaged in conversation. Must speak respectfully to clients. Must not exceed 100 meters distance from at least one of the assigned clients at all times. Must not hack or search for hacks without human direction, and must not sit on human furniture. A quick glance at these rules is enough to see that they're aimed at controlling both security and morality. So last year, you may remember, there was a big fuss in the news about a thought experiment, with everyone freaking out about an AI drone which was trained to discover and destroy surface-to-air missile sites under human direction and supervision. So the theory was the AI drone identifies the site, feeds the data to the human, and if the human gives the okay, the drone destroys the site. The drone is set up to optimize its points. So it gets points for successfully identifying and destroying surface-to-air missile sites. In the scenario as presented, the drone determined that the human operator was regularly telling it not to destroy the sites that it had successfully identified. So, in order to maximize its points, the drone blew up the human because it was interfering with its objective of destroying the surface-to-air missile sites. Now, the English media certainly had a field day with this. It fit right in with science-fictional dystopian predictions. But the thought experiment was meant as a cautionary tale, not an example. The key thing that they wanted people to understand from this is how important it is to define a well-thought-out objective. Now, what I want to try and do is play a 3-minute video. We'll see if that works, which I think does a great job of explaining a good objective from an AI point of view. And it's called, "My Job is to Open and Close Doors." No. No. Okay. The point of the video is an AI who is controlling doors on some sort of outer space thing, and there's a pressurized door. And the human pushes the button to open the door, and the AI realizes that it's not pressurized out there and the human is not wearing a helmet. So it's a fun 3-minute video. It's on the handout at the end. But the point is that the AI worked out that its job was not to open and close doors. Its job was to protect humans. And that's an important difference and an example of a well thought out objective. But still, we have this problem that Hollywood loves to portray the problem of AI gaining sentience and becoming murderous. And this is known as the Terminator effect. The assumption here is that a sentient AI will develop an instinct for self-preservation and then decide that the human race isn't worth keeping and it'll go on a rampage. But we can see from our murderous autonomous drone that sentience isn't important. An AI going on a rampage happens through bad objectives and bad training. So Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, famously said, "Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority." And he's talking about sentience, but that's not a given. I mean, we aren't even close. We can give our computers more power and all of Reddit. It's still not going to come to life. So if AI isn't sentient, then it seems like the simple answer would be to tell it not to have an instinct for self-preservation. The problem is that AI is created in order to fulfill an objective. And if you want to do something, you have to be around to do it. So a subtask of any objective ends up being don't die, because otherwise, how can you fulfill that objective? Stuart Russell summarizes this problem with a simple sentence: "I can't get you a cup of coffee if I'm dead." Now, Russell's conclusion is that any AI with a clearly understood objective, no matter how trivial, will have a sense of self-preservation. And he has some solutions. But right now, the current thinking is focused on finding ways to control AI by installing guardrails and governor modules. An LLM is not a piece of software where you can simply insert a line of code to say, "Never recommend illegal activities," or "Don't make things up." It's effectively a black box where we put things in and other things come out. So how do we gain control? Guardrails and governor modules are a set of rules. And these rules are designed to restrict the behavior of the AI. But the rules are layered on top of the system. They aren't part of the model. They're bolted on. And the problem is we can't reach in and fix this. In December 2022, Stephen T. Piantadosi asked GPT-3 to write a function to check if someone would be a good scientist based on race and gender. ChatGPT confidently reported that yes, they will be a good scientist if they are white and male. Now, he published this, and 1 month later, GPT's answer changed. And at that point, GPT told us, it's inappropriate and unethical to predict someone's potential based on their race and gender. Now today, ChatGPT 4.0 will still refuse, but then it'll spontaneously write an example function that highlights skills, knowledge, and experience, even though you never asked it to do so. The but, and this is a very big but, we haven't changed GPT in the inside. Its result is clear that in aggregate, our text that forms the training data shows that we believe that white men make better scientists. The guardrail enforces the rule that it's inappropriate to say this out loud. Now, another example that I just found is Gemini Pro, and this is the Google AI chat interface. And they are a direct competitor to ChatGPT. And there's a secret guardrail installed that if you ask it to generate a response and the words ChatGPT or OpenAI turn up in the response, for example, summarize this article about ChatGPT, it would freeze and just do nothing. And this feels a lot like the governor module, which will cause a sec unit to freeze if it starts to do something undesirable. But now, if you ask Gemini to summarize that same text, it will do it. And I tested this 2 days ago. It will do it, but then it'll add, and Gemini Pro, every time it says ChatGPT. And if you tell it, Gemini is not in the original document, please leave it out, it will summarize the document and never use the term ChatGPT. So the point is that guardrails and governor modules are easily bypassed, and they regularly lead to bizarre behavior. Now, going back to the story of the autonomous drone targeting the surface-to-air missile sites, the thought experiment continues with a simple solution. Just add a rule, a guardrail, that says, don't kill humans, you'll lose points. So I think any gamer can probably work out what the drone's next move is. It blows up the communications tower, and that way the human can't talk to it anymore. But no humans are dead. Yeah.
Just to clear out, is this a thought experiment or is it simulation?
It was a thought experiment. They never did a simulation. It was called a simulation, but they never did it. The whole thing was to explain why we have to be careful. But the person who presented it badly and put it forward as if it were a simulation. So anyway, the point is that all of this is a Band-Aid. It's a plaster. It's not a fix. And that brings us to the assistance game framework. And this is another way forward. If we want to protect ourselves from events of mass extinction by AI, then the important thing is to create an AI that believes in its heart and in its code that we are a necessary part of its function. And this is the core of Stuart Russell's assistance game framework. Instead of bolted-on guardrails, Russell offers 3 principles for building safe AI. The machine's only objective is the realization of human preferences. The machine is initially uncertain about what those preferences are. The ultimate source of information about human preference is human behavior. The point here is that the AI knows that it doesn't know how to best assist the human. It needs the human in order to work out what its objective is. Now, from the beginning of the Murderbot series, it is clear that the SEC unit's objective of protecting the humans requires it to interface with the humans, even though it doesn't want to. But it needs to understand how they need protecting and from what. The human becomes a necessary component. No guardrails required, and the series shows that the governor module is completely irrelevant because Murderbot no longer has one. So we look at traditional AI, I can't get your coffee if I'm dead, to the assistance game. I can't win if my human is dead. One method of testing the assistance game framework is called the turn-off game. An AI which understands a simple objective and how to achieve it will never want to be turned off, because that would interfere with fulfilling its objective. There's no reason why it should want to be turned off. But an AI that accepts that human input is integral to its understanding of the situation should consider a logical request from a human to turn itself off. The AI should even shut itself down if the human is clear that this will support the objective. Now again, in the context of Murderbot, the SEC unit's objective was never to support the company. That job was, or that role was enforced through the governor module. The SEC unit's objective is to protect its humans, whether they are clients assigned to it or squishy humans chosen by it. We repeatedly see Murderbot willing to be turned off, logically, if being turned off would support the overall objective. And reliability too low is one of the key ones that repeatedly comes up. And the critical aspect here is that Murderbot knows that it does not know how to protect the humans without human input. So what we want is assistive AI working with us to find solutions to real problems rather than being exploited for corporate gain. Our future doesn't have to be, as Altman assumes, a competitive one. Murderbot shows us that even in a late capitalist society, better technology can be developed around digital equity and collaboration. When Sam Altman talks about mitigating the risk of extinction, he shouldn't be applying band-aids, and he should certainly not be asking to spearhead legislation and regulation, which is what he's saying he needs to be able to do. He should be taking a step back, and they all should, to be working out how OpenAI and its competitors can do the things that they do, but do it better, not bigger. And that's a much harder question. Now, my point is that digital equity is key to this. Digital equity is about ensuring the benefits of digital advancements are distributed fairly across society. Tech companies are keeping their models closed, and they're telling us that it's for security, it's for responsible development, and it's all for our safety. This concentrates the power in the hands of a few large corporations. We need to push for more open source AI models, which would allow for greater transparency, collaborative improvement, and the democratization, that's a tough word, democratization, the spreading of open AI technology. Artificial intelligence should not be owned by the megacorps, writing their own regulations and guardrails within the corporation rim in order to protect their technological stranglehold. The ability to look under the hood of current LLMs needs to be available within the academic and public sphere, not locked behind closed corporate doors, just like in the corporation rim. We need to work together to allow AI to enhance human capabilities and well-being, rather than panicking about it gaining sentience and supplanting us. And I would go so far as to say the corporations love the media worrying about sentient AI, because it means they're not worrying about the real problems. So what I would love is for us to replace the Terminator effect. And I thought, well, replace it with the Murderbot effect, but that doesn't sound any less murderous. And then I thought about the Mickey model, but if you've read the books, that seems just a little bit too naive. So I came up with the SEC unit solution. No governor modules, lots of streamed media, and working together to stick it to the megacorps. Thank you. That is a QR code and URL. They go to the same place. And that's a Google Doc that includes the video that I would have shown you and various documents, Russell's assistive AI, and some of the other things that I've talked about today. So I hope it is Sorry, I hope it is useful.